रेगुलर जीएसटी और टैक्स अपडेट के लिए इस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें। फ्रेंड्स, आप टीडीएस, इनकम टैक्स, जीएसटी और अकाउंटिंग सॉफ्टवेयर ऑडिट ट्रेल के साथ कंप्लायंस आसानी से कर सकते हैं। इन सॉफ्टवेयर के डेमो देखने के लिए आप हमें मोबाइल नंबर के साथ ईमेल कर दीजिए taxil@gmail.com पर।
Nice atmosphere is something which I would start my interaction with you today. Equally, today we have taken quite a few people-friendly decisions. I'm very happy that some of the outstanding decisions, long pending, not outstanding in that sense, long pending decisions have been taken. On the good side, you all know that in the last 1 year, and probably a bit earlier than that, some life-saving drugs which are not connected with corona, which are very expensive, which affect children and so on, like the muscular atrophy. So in those situations, the entire process of coming up to the finance minister, who's otherwise authorized by the council to give exemptions, does consume time, and as a result many of the children are really going through, and the parents are going through a lot of tension whether it will be available, because the drug itself costs several crores, and over that the taxation is very severe. So exemptions have been given for such drugs. There won't be any tax GST on them. I am giving the name of two because those two are very imported, very expensive drugs. Zolgensma is one. Zolgensma. Zolgensma. And Viltepso. Viltepso. These are two very important drugs which are probably costing even something like 16 crores. So the council has decided to grant exemption from GST for these two. Over and above this, drugs which are suggested by Ministry of Health for treating muscular atrophy on the recommendation of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and Department of Pharmaceuticals are also exempted from IGST on import for personal use. So that is one thing which I would like to say as a first item. The next is the concessional GST rates on corona-related medicines. You're aware that there was a GOM formed. They went into which are these items for which there should be concessional rates provided. So after that, that was a set of medicines were given this concessional rate, and that was applicable till probably September 30th. We have now extended that list of medicines. I'll read them out till December 31st, 2021. That list had very many items. Some of them are equipments, but we are giving the extension up to December for only those medicines. So amphotericin B, which had nil rate, tocilizumab, which I told you about, nil rate, remdesivir 5%, anticoagulants like heparin 5%. These concessional rates, which were valid till September 30th, are now being extended till 31st December 2021. I repeat, these are only the medicines which are getting extended. That original list which was valid till 30th September also had some equipments. Extension is not for them. So I would like to be clear on that. GST rate on 7 other medicines which are recommended by Department of Pharmaceuticals have also been recommended for reduction from 12 to 5%, and that is till 31st December 2021. Similarly, cancer-related drugs. Keytruda is one of them, Keytruda. It's a medicine for treatment of cancer, along with similar other medicines for the use in treatment of cancer as per Department of Health and Family Welfare or Department of Pharmaceuticals have been recommended that from 12% they should come down to 5%. So cancer-related drugs. GST rate again on retrofitment kits for vehicles used by persons with special disabilities. Retrofitment kits which are used by Divyang has also been reduced to 5%. GST rate again on fortified rice kernels for schemes like integrated child development schemes. Fortified rice kernels which can be used for ICDS have been recommended from 18 to 5%, reduced from 18 to 5%. Similarly, GST rate on biodiesel, which are supplied to oil marketing companies for blending with diesel, have also been reduced from 12 to 5%. These are under the goods category. Services category also had some discussions and some changes. See, presently transport of export goods by vessels and air is exempt from GST till 30th September 2021. Transport of export goods by vessel and by air is exempt from GST. This exemption was given because of the difficulties being faced by exporters in getting refund of ITC, the credits that is, due to technical issues on the GST portal. Although the portal is quite stabilized, keeping in view of the post-pandemic situation, this exemption is also being extended by 1 more year so that exporters do not suffer. The next item there on the services is states charge national permit fee for granting permit to goods carriages, Malgadi, to operate throughout India and in contiguous states. This national permit fee is being exempted from GST. I repeat that. States which charge national permit fee for granting permit to a goods carriage for Malgadis to operate throughout India or to contiguous states, this is exempted from GST. Again, in order that skill development is given prominence, training programs which are wholly funded by central government or state governments are exempt from GST. However, there are certain training programs where the trainees are required to pay a small fee so that we don't have their skin in the game, so that they are asked to pay a small fee. Such training programs, even though substantially funded by government, become ineligible for GST exemption. To address this issue, the Council today has agreed that training programs where the government bears 75% of the cost or even more will be exempt from GST. Some decisions on double taxation avoidance has also been taken, such as in the case of import of aircrafts or other goods on lease. So sometimes you import basically for leasing it. Even in that, we are trying to remove the double taxation element. So import of aircrafts and other goods which are imported on lease IGST payable at the time of import has been exempted. So IGST on import of aircrafts or any other goods which is being imported on lease will now be exempted from double taxation. This will facilitate the domestic industry and the aviation sector. Changes are being made in the customs IGST notifications, and these will also allow transfer of goods imported under lease without payment of IGST. This will be allowed even for, this exemption will be allowed even for those lessor who are located in SCZs, who pays GST under forward charges. So IGST exemption is even for them. I'll move to a totally different topic on inverted duty structure correction. It was pending for quite some time. The Council today decided that GST rate changes in order to have inverted duty structure corrections such as in footwear and in textile sector, as was discussed earlier in the GST Council, and it was then deferred. I will recall for the benefit of all the media friends that a list of 4 or 5 items were taken up and only mobile phone was allowed in that particular meeting. Many of the council members said we'll probably think about rest of them later and agreed to have correction done only for mobile phones, which was probably a year and about 4 or 5 months ago. Now the decision is to correct the inverted duty structure anomalies in footwear and textile sector. The Council has agreed to implement it from 1st January 2022. However, in the meanwhile, there may be a lot of discussion among members in case they want minor tweaking here and there, but we have decided that they will be implemented from 1st January 2022, footwear and textile. Some decisions on ore concentrates and such things have also been taken. I'm not getting into details of that. Where ores and specified metals, again in the matter of inversion, as rates on services like royalty, which constitute a substantial portion of their input cost and capital goods, even there the rate is about 18%. Here too, correction of inversion would help the industry, but we've not decided on a date on that. Am I right? Yes, we've not decided on a date. All kinds of pens, the GST rate on pen parts is 18%. Pen as column. While certain kinds of pens attract GST of 12%. So inversion happens. This is being corrected by making rates uniform for all pens, their parts, to 18%. Correction will eliminate the requirement of businesses to seek refunds. So correction is happening for pens. Specified renewable energy devices. Presently, they attract a rate of 5% GST. However, all their inputs, like metals, plastics, chemicals, and so on, attract GST at the rate of 18%. Further, input services and capital goods also attract GST at 18% for these items. Hence, there is an inverted rate structure which requires such manufacturers to claim refund of accumulated ITCs and input tax. So ITC of input services and capital goods get embedded. This is a disadvantage to domestic manufacturing in particular. To reduce inversion, therefore, it has been recommended to prescribe GST at the rate of 12% on those specified renewable devices. So this will help the domestic manufacturing. This will help, therefore, Atmanirbhar Bharat, particularly at a time when India is looking at giving an emphasis on renewable energy. The last item under this category is railway parts and locomotives and other parts of the railways, which fall under Chapter 86. It has been recommended to be increased from 12% to 18% here, so that again, inverted duty structure related problems can be sorted out. Locomotives, railway parts, and other parts of railways which fall in Chapter 86, the rate has been increased from 12 to 18% purely to correct the inversion. I'm going to the next topic. Several clarificatory notes have been given out. I'll leave it for the press note to explain all that to you all. An item in which a lot of media speculation has been happening in the last few days is about whether petroleum products will be placed under GST. I would like to make it absolutely clear that this item came on the agenda for today's discussion on petroleum products purely because a High Court of Kerala's order, which where some person approaching the High Court of Kerala asking for if it can be included, the court had suggested that the matter be placed before the GST Council. So on the direction of the court, today it was brought on to the table for discussion. Members spoke very clearly that they wouldn't want it to be included in the GST. Several members said it very clearly. And in fact, it was also clearly asked as to how we will go to the court to report on this matter, because the court has said within a couple of months we have to come, 2 months or something, we have to come back to it to say, have we done as per their instruction? So it was decided by the council that we shall go back to report to the court that indeed as per their desire, as per their direction, the council had it on its agenda today and it was discussed, clearly stating that the High Court of Kerala has desired that this matter be brought to the GST's notice and discussed. It was discussed. This will be reported to the High Court of Kerala that we have discussed, and the GST Council felt that it wasn't the time for them to bring the petroleum products into the GST. So we shall report that to the court. There was a detailed presentation made on the revenue generation aspects, correction of inverted duty structure aspects, and also the various ways in which the revenue neutral position, which was somewhere at 15.5% at the time of introduction of GST, has steadily come down to 11%. Revenue neutral is to keep it at 15.5. But today, actually, in reality, we are at 11.6. And actually, therefore, if revenues are coming down and you think it's not really helping in overall GST collection, what was arrived at the time of introducing GST has been knowingly or unknowingly brought down because of reduction in the rates of some items, resulting today that position is 11.6 when you actually have to be somewhere at 15.5. So members did discuss on those items as well. And in the process, the actual position of compensation which is being given since the introduction, which is being given even after Corona coming in, borrowed amounts, back-to-back giving of compensation have all been presented during a presentation done by the Joint Secretary, Revenue. So states have been given a complete picture of what it is going to be. As it is, as things stand, for paying back and servicing the loan taken for the back-to-back arrangement with which last year we were able to give the states monies, and from last year some dues are still there, whereas this year, because the revenue collection has improved, we are still able to service even with a little bit of borrowing. So in order to service the borrowed amount, in order to service the borrowed principal and interest, from July 22, even last year the council had allowed, saying, yes, since compensation has to be paid only from cess collection and it is not to be paid by drawing from the Consolidated Fund of India, it was allowed, even it was decided by the council even last year, that cess collection may be extended beyond July 22 to pay for the principal and interest which has got to be borrowed, which has been borrowed back to back, it's been given to states. So a picture of how much has to be paid back, how much has to be given in terms of from the collected cess, July 22 onwards, by extending the cess collection, how long will it take for the entire borrowed amount to be paid was also discussed. So for the total amount borrowed last year and for the total amount which is expected to be borrowed this year, and I'd like to remind our friends in the media that for the total amount to be borrowed this year, 75,000 crores is already paid upfront to the states for this year's count. So for the amount borrowed last year and given back to back, and for the amount which is going to be borrowed this year and or again given back to back, put together, for how long does this cess have to be collected and paid for repaying the loan? That also was discussed. Detailed financial statements were also worked out. So as things stand now, this collection of cess purely to pay the loans which have been taken will itself run till 26 March. March 2026 is still when we have to collect the cess purely to pay back the loans taken between 2020-21 and 21-22. So this has been clearly explained. There are a few other things which are only getting into details, which I'll explain even as you all ask questions. If there's anything that I've left which has to be included in the opening statement, I'll ask the Revenue Secretary to join in.
आप हमें टेलीग्राम ऐप CA सतबीर सिंह टैक्सील पे ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं ताकि आप GST और इनकम टैक्स के रेगुलर अपडेट अपने मोबाइल पर ही प्राप्त कर सकें।